Welcome to Sam's Russian Adventures. I'm Sam, an English guy living in Vladimir in provincial Russia, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about how I see the UK after having lived 20 years outside of the UK and more specifically in Russia. It's going to be an interesting video, and I don't want it to be completely negative about how everything in the UK is bad and stuff like that. But my viewpoint of the UK has changed due to the fact that I get to see things from a different angle. And so it's going to be interesting, I think, for you guys, if you're living in the UK, to hear what I have to say. Now, I'm a British citizen and I love the UK. I'm not going to shy away from that. I'm not going to say that, you know, I'm not going to have any kind of like feelings of gloat or anything like that if I say something negative about the UK. But I do have my opinion, and therefore I'm going to share it in today's video. So I've actually parked my car here in the middle of a football pitch, but I don't think anyone's going to be playing today. It's a lot more peaceful here. So let's go for a bit of a walk and talk. So the first thing that I notice about the UK is that it's a former superpower who is still trying to cling on to that feeling of being a superpower. And a lot of the people that live in the UK don't realise that it's not the superpower that it once was. We all know that, you know, Britannia used to, you know, rule, how was it, a third of the world or whatever, but those days are gone. And a lot of people don't seem to kind of understand that. The way I see the UK after living for so long outside of the UK is it's kind of like America's lapdog, and it's pretty sad to see because the UK's fallen so far. I think a lot of people still believe the kind of things that they read in the Sun newspaper when it says, you know, let's send in our boys to Ukraine and get those Ruskies running away. And I just look at things like that and think, blimey, does anyone believe that stuff? I mean, that's crazy, right? It's almost laughable. So the next thing is that woke culture has gone completely out of control and become like its own monster. And if you don't agree with that, then, well, I think it's because probably you watch the news and so you just believe what the news tells you. But as far as I can see in the UK has problems, but the UK is scared to address the problems, because if someone makes those tough decisions and says, we're against this, we're against that, then what's going to happen? They'll lose their job. They'll get fired, because you cannot stand up for what you believe in. You have to stand up for what you're told you have to believe in there. And that is pretty crazy. And I'm from the UK and I love the UK, but there's certain things like the UK has a problem with immigration. Now the UK, it shot itself in the foot, really, because the reason it's got a problem with immigration is because a lot of the countries where these people are fleeing from, they're places that the UK helped to destroy. And so I understand if you're from one of those places that's been destroyed by the UK, then you'd want to come to the UK for a better life, right? Your home's gone, your house has been destroyed, your family's died. You would want to move to the UK for a better life. But there's also lots of other immigrants that want to move to the UK for a better life. And I understand, if I was one of you, I would also want to move to the UK for a better life. But the problem the UK has got is all these immigrants are coming. Now, a lot of them are not integrating into society. And I also understand that. If I was, you know, fleeing the UK and I moved to another country and there was a huge English population there, I probably wouldn't need to learn the language. I would just, you know, go and live with the other English people living there. I wouldn't need to integrate. In the past, the people that moved to the UK from the former colonies, they wanted to integrate into society. They wanted to feel like they were British citizens, and they wanted to integrate, but that has gone. And so there's a lot of people that come to the UK now that don't want to integrate. They have no desire to integrate. They don't come with their families, they come single men. And the UK can't do anything about it, because if anyone says anything about it, then they're labelled as fascist. It's as simple as that. And you can ask other immigrants, second generation immigrant families who moved here and integrated into the UK, but they will tell you themselves that there is a problem with immigration. But you've got to be a brave man if you're in the UK government and you stand up and you say there's a problem with immigration, because if you do, you're a fascist. And that's it, labelled straight away. And so wokeism has got out of control, because you cannot say your opinion. You cannot solve the problems that exist in the UK, because if you try to solve them, then you're putting yourself in a position to be cancelled, to be fired from your job, and to be labelled. Unfortunately, that's how it is. Wow, this house is massive, isn't it? Unlike the one next door to it, actually. You've got to love Russia, because look at the mixture of houses. You've got this one here. The have-nots and the haves live opposite, literally opposite to each other. And we've got such a wide range of different architectural styles. Everyone's built their version of their dream house. But I really like this one. It's really nice, isn't it? And so the same thing exists when it comes to LGBT plus Q. I don't know how many of them are. I'm not trying to deliberately be sarcastic about it. I just don't understand why somebody who is part of this community has to talk about it, has to create events. Why do you have to have a flag? I don't get that. I really don't get it, right? I like women. I don't know, is there a flag for people that like women? I don't have parades. I don't go and parade and say, oh, I like women. I don't see why I have to tell anyone. The laws are there. If you're a person that likes men, for example, just go and be with men. Why do you have to make it into a thing? I don't get that. The same with the gender thing. I don't get it, right? If I see you in the street, I'm just going to say, excuse me. That's it, right? I'm going to say, excuse me, can I help you? Or excuse me, can you tell me, how to get here? I don't care what you identify as. I don't care if you're a man or a woman. It's like the same thing with ethnicity, right? Ethnicity. What difference does it make what colour you are? It's not like I'm going to go up to you in the street and say, hey, black person, or hey, white person, or whatever. I'm just going to say, excuse me, can you tell me how to get to somewhere? So it doesn't matter what sexual orientation you have, what colour skin you have. What difference does it make? Just be you, right? I don't understand that. I don't understand the need to have it even be a thing. Just be you. Why has it got to be something? This house is pretty cool, right? And the one over here looks nice. I'm going to go and have a look. So I can see over the fence. Looks like it's for sale, possibly. This looks nice with the sun shining on it. It looks like, I don't know, not even like a house, right? It looks like something else. One thing that kind of really disappoints me with the UK is that when I watch the news and I see the BBC News and they talk about topics that are very important, about topics within the UK, such as immigration, for example, the difference between what they're talking about on the BBC and the reality on the ground are completely different. It's like the experts have got no idea what typical everyday people think about these issues. And I understand, obviously, the people in the BBC and the experts, they're middle class, they're upper class, they don't really know about the issues that face the country. They live in their nice suburbs they haven't got a problem with immigration there, right? They don't have those problems there. And so it's completely different for those people to talk about those issues because they don't see the problems, because they don't live with the problems. Another thing that I noticed about the UK is there's lots of rules. Now, rules are good. Rules are there to make life probably better, to make the quality of life better, to improve the safety and things like that. And I get that, and that is a good thing. But sometimes I think the rules have gone way overboard. Like, for example, you can't take films or photos in a school play because the other parents will be against it. You can't have those memories, right? You can't have the memories of your kid in the school play doing something funny that you're going to want to look back on when you're, you know, when the kids all growing up and say, look at this was you in the school play. You can't have that because some of the other family members might be against you filming. What do they think, that you're going to watch their kids or something? Is just over the top. It's just strange. This is Russia basically. Look, a world of contrast. Look, you've got these two houses here and then you've got this here. This house is extremely nice, isn't it? And this one's not bad either. And then over here we've got a dacha style. I say dacha style, not a dacha house. Look at the mosaic up there, that's incredible. And so we've still got a well here, so some people are going to need to use this to drink, look. Such huge contrasts in Russia, such huge contrasts. It's like, it's incredible to see houses like this next to brand new incredible houses like this one over here, or this massive one over there, and to see cars like this and like this, and then I guess the owners of this house, well, they've got the Nissan and maybe something else in the garage, right? What about this house here? What do you think? So one thing that's great about living outside of the UK is that when I go to the UK, I get to be a tourist. And it is great to be a tourist. You go there and you don't know any of the kind of ongoing problems, like the road that's, you know, eternally being refurbished, right? You don't have that thing of, oh, they still haven't done that road and stuff like that. You just get to go there and be a tourist. And England, for tourists, is like the world of Harry Potter. It's great. There's little cafes that you go down a little winding road, and round a corner you find like a little tea shop and things like that. Obviously I really miss food from the UK. Now, a lot of people around the world will say British food's horrible. We have a multicultural society, and I absolutely miss my mum's home cooking, which I guess is some traditional foods, but at the same time things that she's learned during her life to cook. And then of course I really miss Indian food. I really miss Indian food. I miss football. England's such a small place, but it's football crazy. All the stadiums are full. You know, football in the UK is something that I miss, that football culture. I miss the atmosphere of those stadiums. It's a different level. So it's kind of weird, I'm being stalked by a couple of little girls that wherever I walk, they walk as well. It's a bit weird. One of the great things, of course, with modern technology is that all the friends that I lost contact with when I initially moved out here, because in those days we had like these phone cards you could buy from the post office, same thing in Russia, and you'd have to call the number on the back, then put in the full code, then call the number you want to call, and then wait and hope that it connects, and the line will be shocking, and it would just be like, yeah, what's the point? But now, you know, WhatsApp and all those apps, it's just great, isn't it? You can chill out, you can speak to your friends all the time, and it's great to reconnect with everyone. That house is huge. Let's go and have a look around the other side. So I actually know the owner of this house. Well, not the owner, but I know the girl that's going to inherit the house anyway. And finally, the UK is in decline. And it saddens me to say that, but the signs are everywhere. If you just look at the city centres, if you look at the respect or the lack of respect from the people, if you move outside of the UK, right, and you spend any length of time in other countries, you'll see that they don't have that type of anti-social behaviour that they have in the UK. They don't have that thing you go to the corner shop and you get a load of grief from sort of a group of lads hanging outside there. It doesn't happen. People respect each other. And it's the UK's problem. It's the UK's fault, because it's too woke to deal with the issues that it has. Now, my friends in the UK mainly are second generation immigrants, okay? Their parents moved to the UK, and they agree with almost everything I say in my point of view about the UK. But the UK is too woke to deal with the problems that it has. And that is its downfall. Woke culture and equality is a great thing. Equality is brilliant. But at the same time, when it becomes too much of its own monster and wokeism goes out of control, you can't solve the problems. People that come to the UK, for example, should want to integrate into the UK. I live in Russia. I could not walk around with a sign here saying that I hate Russia and I, you know, want everything to be different. Well, they'd just say to me, leave then, just go. We don't want you here. I'm here because I accept Russian culture and I want to integrate into Russian society. But lots of people in the UK, well, they don't want to integrate, and at the same time the wokeism is too out of control, and so therefore the country and the heritage is in decline. It's really sad. It really saddens me completely, because Russian people, they love British things. They love scones and 5 o'clock tea. Well, Russians know about 5 o'clock tea. I didn't even know about that myself, right? So there's so many things that they love about Great Britain, but those things are slowly dying, unfortunately. And I want Britain to get its act together and to change, but no one will dare, especially on the news, right? Imagine on the news someone came and made these points that I've made today. That'll be the end of their career. And that's why the UK is in a state of decline, because they can't handle the situations they need to handle. They can't solve the problems they need to solve. And here in this country, they solve them. You would never get that antisocial behaviour, that hooliganism. You would never get that here, because first it's a sign of respect. You respect other people. You respect the culture. You respect the country. Okay, and those things, unfortunately, in the UK, they're like from a bygone era. A lot of people from the 60s will say, you know, it's changed completely, from the 70s, from the 80s. I'm 70, I was born in the late 70s, right? The 80s was my childhood, the 90s were my teenage years. And that England, that's gone. I'm sorry, but that's gone.